I'm building a sports tech startup now, and it's a decentralized media platform for athletes and entertainers. So essentially empowering them to be their own media networks and using software and machine learning models to do that. I started focusing on things that actually upset me a little bit that I wanted to change, and one of them was ownership and athletes and entertainers being taken advantage of a lot. I wanted to build a company alleviating that. I think the biggest challenge that I faced is other people trusting my abilities, especially within STEM and sports STEM. I think women are given scraps a lot of the time, and you have to make do with that and turn it into something else. I definitely think that's one of the main reasons why I became my own boss, because I trust myself. I trust my abilities. I trust that I don't know everything and that I'm gonna learn it, or I'm gonna build a team that knows more than me. And I wanna have the opportunity to invest in the next generation of females that wanna work in STEM and sport, and giving them the tools that I necessarily didn't have growing up. But also just empowering them to learn the tough things, to go through the adversity, and to, even though people give you scraps, ask for more and prove to them that you deserve more as well.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Kelly. I'm founder and CEO of Curastory. And what we do at Curastory, we allow creators to run their video businesses.
Again, I will say this till the cows come home. I love a clean, like a very, very clean pitch. Get in there, get it done, boom. I love that. Hi, Tiffany, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing very well. I love it when I don't know. I mean, I invite everyone and anyone that is, if you're a small business and you are 100 employees or under, I invite you onto this podcast to speak, to talk, to tell your story. But I really love it when I don't know you. I mean,
Zero idea.
I don't know who you are. I don't do any, I'm a business owner. I don't do any homework on anyone that I'm talking to, because my parents taught me how to ask questions and how to talk to people. So I don't do any homework whatsoever. It's very, very Larry King of me, where I figured that whatever you say will lead to other things. And so this is your opportunity. Be prepared to dig deep into who you are.
I'm ready.
And tell your story. So before we even care about, I always say it, you're here for your business, but I don't want to hear about your business yet, or services or your product. I want to hear about you. We need to understand who the humans are behind the services, the product, the business. So who is Tiffany from 0 to, let's just say, college years? And if you say something good, and you will, without you even realizing that you do, I'm going to stop you and ask to elaborate, but I would definitely like to know, where are you? And start telling me your story.
Who is Tiffany? So, man, it's a big question. I'm from the South. I'm from Louisiana. I went to college in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. And Tiffany, brown-eyed, bushy tail, growing up, wanted to honestly change sports for the better. That was my North Star. Every single person in my family was a college athlete. Camaraderie in the family was just built around sports. And so I knew I wanted to work in sports from a super young age, but I didn't know in what capacity. And it was interesting, when I was in high school, I job shadowed with the New Orleans Hornets at the time, which are now the Pelicans. I was supposed to be working with the PR staff, but Will Ferrell was there that night, so it was crazy busy. So they stuck me with the stats guys, and I was 17, and just that is kind of where my life took off. Every single person knew who the stats guys were. I got to go in the owner's suite. I was on the floor, with the players, with the stats. It was just crazy. Just imagine as a 17-year-old. So, and everyone just respected them, and that's something that I noticed. So growing up, I knew that was what I wanted to do. And
Wait,
Also
see,
grew up,
I'm already stopping you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm already stopping you. So what sport did you play? Because I mean,
yeah.
sports, family, and yet I haven't heard a sport that you mentioned. So what
Yeah,
sports?
I played volleyball in college, but I played basketball, volleyball, and I swam growing up.
Okay. And you said that your entire family was athletics. And what are the sports that were played in the house?
Everyone did basketball, except my dad swam. He was one of the first Black national champions at Morehouse. He's pretty awesome. Yes, he threw me in a pool when I was 2, probably. So I get my swimming gene from him for sure.
All right, I do love that because you know what? I mean, so I remember when I'm dramatically older than you. I mean, I turned 53 this month. And
oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm obnoxious about the birthday too, because you know what? It's the time that it's your birth. You need to celebrate you coming into this world. And people just like kind of, I don't want to celebrate the number. I'm obnoxious about my birthday. I celebrate the
yes.
month. So boom. I'm first generation born in America, from Haitian parents on an island. I remember when I was little, kids were like, yeah, Black kids don't swim. I'm like, why? Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
And they're like, I go, well, we don't swim. I'm like, I'm from the island. If I don't swim, I die. I mean, first thing we were ever taught was like, get out there, and we had a pool and everything. So I heard that all the time, and I was like scratching my head, like, why would people say that? Because I mean, I live and breathe ocean.
Yeah.
I live and breathe the water. I mean, I live in a quintessential New England town that I'm looking out my window and I see the ocean. I need it. Like I cannot even function. I waste water. Sorry, world. I waste water because I am in the shower and the most amazing things come flushing into my brain when I'm the mermaid that doesn't have the fins. So when you were younger, did you get that as well? I mean, like, did you hear comments like that? Because I was like, where did this come from?
Did I hear comments as far as what?
Black kids don't swim?
Oh, yeah. I did hear that, but I mean, it was squash in my family because I mean, my dad, who I'm looking up to, is like a college champion in swimming. So it's like, I don't understand what you mean, but this is like normal for me. So I don't get it. But yeah, I definitely heard those comments growing up for sure.
So volleyball, swimming, basketball.
Yeah.
That was you. So your dad swimming, your mom, siblings?
Basketball, and my brother basketball as well.
Okay. The love of sports is embedded in your family.
Yes, it's a language. And it was my brother and I growing up. And so him and I were 2 peas in a pod, and I'm the youngest. So it was always me trying to be best friends and hang out with my brother. I never had a tea party in my life. I've never like kind of been that quintessential girl. It was always whatever my brother wanted to do, which was play football, baseball, all the sports, kickball. It was him making all of the decisions. That's what I will say. So I feel like my love of sports definitely came from him and our relationship growing up for sure.
You're saying how it's a language. I was the tomboy. I was the one in the dress stuck in the tree because my dress got caught, or on the fence on the tree, because I was like, dress or not, I'm still climbing. I'm still doing things. I'm still active. The language of sports is hard when you're from an international family because soccer, football is our sport. And it wasn't a conversation because my mom wanted us to, like, especially in an international household, like, we need to act like a girl. You need to act like a boy. There's certain things. And my dad's like, this one is going to be a problem because she's not following any of the rules. But the language of sports, I've sat down with friends that are sports enthusiasts or sports families, and I feel like my head is spinning because it's not even just the rules of the game, but it's just like everything that is happening in the world is interrelated with the sports language. How were you able to let other people come into your home and have conversations with you guys without it being this, oh no, it's us and we know how to talk and we created our own language. Oh yeah, you're a guest, figure it out or not, or just like sit there and just sit idle.
That is so funny. I've never thought about that. I feel like we would always talk about sports in some way, or took shape inside of the conversation in some way. Um, I mean, we didn't just only talk about sports. Like my parents and my family was so multifaceted. Like my dad is a professor at LSU. He's also a pastor. So um, we're very spiritual growing up. And then my mother was a programmer. And so she, coding was normal. So I also code. So we had very different conversations in our house, but yeah, it was always like, there was always sports on, TV on, just something kind of dealing with that. Like an awesome weekend is a family watching football on a Saturday, like in the house, or going to LSU football games. So it's so funny that you say that, because when I do go out to parties, like with friends, it's like if I'm talking to friends and like they happen to be guys, like I bring up sports, and it's like I don't really know what to do if the guy doesn't know sports. I'm just like, I don't know where to take the conversation from here. But it was so nice. It was so nice meeting you. It's definitely something that I actually noticed the other day. I was just like, wow, huh? Because it's always like guys are typically interested that I know sports so well and like better than them. And meeting people, I also live in New York, so like meeting people that actually aren't super into sports is very common. So if they're not from the South or from kind of up north or what have you. But yeah, no, it always kind of found its way in the conversation in some way.
That reminds me of where I had many male friends ask me to borrow my car. I'm like, I go, sure, here's the keys. And they come back, they're like, it's a manual. I'm like, yeah. They're like, and
how does this work?
And they're like, I can't drive a manual. I'm like, I go, but, and this is me. I'm like, but you're a dude. What do you mean? But trucks aren't like what? So I'm mind blown, because that's the first thing that my dad's like, here's a car. I'm like, it's a manual.
Yeah.
He goes, but you could drive around the world. So here's the tool that I'm giving you. And I was like, all right, not a problem. He's like, remember, manuals and hills don't go together. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? But I'll find out. But then when I never have a problem with like lending out things. I'm like, oh yeah, here's my car. But I'm always floored where when someone says I can't drive a manual, or when I valet and everyone's like, oh my God, you're a girl, you drive a manual.
Manual.
They get so excited. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, I suppose. So weird.
So it's like, that is so funny. Yeah, I don't know how to drive a manual. I almost took we did have a class in high school. I went to an all-girls high school. I loved it. And we had a class where you had to basically just like life skills, like change a tire. Like it was the complete opposite of home economics. So I definitely didn't take that because I was playing sports year round in high school. But it was definitely one of the classes, like if I had more free time, I definitely would have taken it for sure.
It's surprising how many things that, I mean, again, major gap of our ages, and home ec was something that, like I go, we had wood shop, we had like a sewing class, like how to sew on a button. There's certain things that were just common sense, like if you're making something like measuring spoons, how to use the metrics or whatever. And now they just eliminated all the stuff. And I'm like, it's great that you're teaching someone how to code. It's great. But honestly, how to do laundry is really needed when you go to college. Like, I mean, it really is. These certain things that are just like common sense, they don't teach anymore. I'm like, they need to bring that stuff back, because like during the pandemic, people were like, Mom, seriously, how do I do laundry? I mean, I can't leave my house. I can't go to the dry cleaner.
That's so funny. Yeah, my high school in Louisiana, we still have wood shop and sewing, and we still have all of those classes, which is awesome. Again, I didn't take that because I was super busy in sports, but I'm happy that they still offer it today for sure.
you're in high school, you're playing sports. Was your goal to be pro? Was your goal just to stand like, this is like a great way of getting a scholarship to go into college? Like, what were the goals when you were in school? I mean, again, sports is in your family, but there's coding, there's education, there's so many other things going on. What was your reasoning of continuing with the sports, other than obviously it's in the family, but also where did you want to go from there? Where did you want the sports to take you?
Great question. It's so funny. I feel like when you're a kid, it's kind of this like one track mind. I definitely knew that I wanted to get a scholarship for college. The funny thing is that it happened, but differently. Like I played in college, but I was essentially was a walk-on and I had an academic scholarship. And I'm super happy it happened that way. But
I'm sorry, can you explain when you say a walk-on, what is that?
Oh, yes. So walk-on means that you don't have an athletic scholarship. So a majority of athletes on Division I, D2, like just the sports teams, majority of them have athletic scholarships. So they're paid to go to that school. The tuition's paid, but they essentially, the tuition is paid by the athletics department. So they have to play the sport all 4 years. So walk-on essentially means that that's not the case. You're paying to go to that school yourself, and you're just good enough to play on the team as well. And so that was my situation for volleyball at the school that I went to. But I had an academic scholarship. So we still didn't really have to come out of pocket to pay for school. And my brother was also a walk-on too at the university that he went to as well. I think my dad also was a walk-on at Morehouse and then got a scholarship and then became a national champion. So
I love you guys. You guys aren't just pretty faces. I like that. Yes. We're not just pretty faces.
We're good at what we do.
Rock on. Show the world, my friend.
The goal in high school was to always go to play in college. I didn't really focus on after that, actually. And I knew I wanted to work in sports because I wanted to stay in sports. Just didn't kind of know in what capacity. And eventually that kind of showed itself when I was in high school at this basketball game, an NBA game, and kind of understanding that stats was like what I wanted to do. It was also funny that people were kind of pushing me towards being in front of the camera as a kind of like anchor sports. They typically do that with women. And I was just like, no. It was so funny because I was just like, no, the power is behind the camera. And I noticed it at 17 years old, and my parents always kind of telling me, hey, like, don't be naive. You are a Black woman, like in sports, but like, don't let that consume you. So I kind of always had this, pay attention to this, but still kind of walk in the room and expect that people are going to appreciate you for your smarts, essentially, regardless of what you look like, but still kind of having that in the back of my head. And so going into sports, wanting to do stats and data science was what I chose because of just the respect and I think the power that I noticed behind it. These are kind of the people making decisions from the tip top of who to put on the court, who to play, things like that, which is really fascinating to me. And just wanting to be respected as a woman in sports too. So yeah, it was always play sports in college, but then after the fact, like NBA is what I wanted to go towards for my career, which ended up a little bit different, but we're still kind of tied to sports and fitness today, a little bit what we're doing.
What was your major in college? What you graduated?
Sports management, but I finished that sophomore year. So junior, senior year,
Wait. What do you mean you finished it? I love how you just glossed over it, like I wasn't going to catch it. Like I just kind of glossed over. you finished it as in you were like, I am changing my major, or you just finished it?
Oh no, I could have graduated.
Oh, see,
Really.
see, you can't gloss over stuff like that because people just would assume you just dropped out. No, okay. No,
Did not drop. The complete opposite of dropping out.
I meant to say I'm super smart and I finished all my credits in 2 years. Done.
Yes, so that's what happened, but I added more electives and courses, of course, because I'm an overachiever. So knowing that I wanted to go into statistics and data science and sports management was my degree, but I had 2 minors in computer science and then statistics. So
how did you balance in college? I mean, you're there
man.
academically. Obviously, you didn't want to mess up on your academics because you would have lost your scholarship. But but how did you balance sports?
Yeah.
Constantly busy. I mean, you're constantly busy in high school, but you're constantly busy and busy in college, social life as well. And then what was your class load?
Oh, I was taking 18 credits, like the full load every semester. Sometimes I would actually do 21.
How did you breathe?
My advisor would have to approve that. So what's funny is I actually stopped playing volleyball, I think sophomore year. And that was because there is no option to go pro like that. And especially since I played at a D2 school, that was not the normal trajectory. It was, you played for 4 years and then that was kind of it.
Okay.
And I think around sophomore year, knowing that the career that I wanted to go into after college, it did require more of me. So I did end up choosing school over an athletic career in college, and would make that same decision if I had to do it over again. But so yeah, it's probably around sophomore year, kind of removing the athletics component, the working out, all that good stuff. School is my like full-time job, and I wanted to have all the skills and the knowledge that I needed to be able to do the career that I wanted after graduation.
You are every international parent's dream. Just want you to know right now, like I go, literally, you really are. What was, I mean, like obviously what your parents are your biggest supporters, but the outside layers of individuals are like, what are you talking about? You're getting rid of sports and you're so good at it. What were you hearing and how did you handle that? I mean, like, again, I can assume the answer already, but what was the ripple effect of your decision to the outside layers outside of your family?
Yeah, I think everyone eventually was okay with it. I feel like the hardest was myself, because it's athletes go through this, how do you call it? Soul searching after your life as an athlete ends. It's the toughest thing to deal with, especially if you've been playing sports since you were 5, like or 4 or 3, and then you're now 20 or 19, and you're kind of just like chopping that half of you off. It's tough. I mean, it took me a minute to really be okay with that. I mean, talk to my parents all the time about it, and I feel like that's even exacerbated even more for men who are actually told more frequently that they will go pro. And so I feel like it was tougher for me, but the outside world, outside of me, internally, kind of were definitely okay with it once I made that decision. Once I saw that I was okay after I became okay, then it was kind of easier.
Just even thinking about that, there are so many people that will be listening to you on this podcast that have been known for something throughout their entire lives, whether it be sports, whether it be acting, whether it be arts. I mean, just anything. You're known, or even being known as the bad kid. Like you're just known for something. And right now we're watching how so many people, I mean, like millions, I mean, I love it. Millions of people are walking away from jobs, lawyers, doctors, engineers, like walking away from not the Dunkin' Donuts, not the Starbucks, but really high paying jobs. And they're like, I just want to, I want out. What advice would you tell them in regards to, or they want to go out? What advice would you take away from your experience to anyone that's listening in regards of, I'm ready to walk away from something I've been known for? What are some steps that you did that you prepared yourself to do it? And then how was it where you balanced your emotions after it was done?
Yeah, I've done it maybe twice in my life now. So when I quit athletics, and then so I ended up doing what I wanted to do, which was I was a data scientist at ESPN. And then I quit ESPN to kind of build a startup. Everyone really thought I was crazy when I did that. But I think having a passion in mind instead of a specific job, what allows you to be flexible. If you have a goal, a passion, something that you want to inspire people in STEM or whatever the passion is, there's so many jobs that could fit that, and so many careers and paths that could actually give you that and for you to achieve that goal. But if you have such a specific, I have to be a lawyer in California for entertain, like it's, I don't know, it's so hyper specific that if you achieve anything outside of that, it feels like a failure. And I actually dealt with that before I worked at ESPN, because I was like, I want to be a data scientist for an NBA team. Like, that is my goal. And it was just funny because that didn't happen. That's like, I think there's only 30 NBA teams. There's only about 1 or 2 people that actually do that. So that's like 60 people in the world that can get this job. And I mean, I was finding out like men with PhDs. So I felt like a failure that I couldn't get that job. And I was going through interviews for a year, but then ESPN hired me in like a month after they met me and they could see what I could do. And again, looking back, I'm so happy that was the outcome, and that's actually what happened, because when I got to ESPN, there was this huge media story about just like HR and issues within NBA teams and front offices, the Orlando Magic, and like that was just echoed across the industry and kind of what was happening. Because when you work in the front office, which is essentially like the general managers and the coaches and the people making the decisions of who's going to play on the court, that's the department that I would have been in. Like, they don't operate in like HR. They're in their own world because they're managing $1 million athletes, and it's just very, very different than normal business and corporate. So I'm happy that I eventually ended up at ESPN, but it's like looking at it so specific and focused from what you thought you wanted. I think it does kind of set yourself up that, okay, anything outside of this, I'm going to fail. But when I really kind of took back the layers, I'm like, okay, why do I want to work in an MBA? Like, why do I want to be a data scientist in an MBA? Like, what was my reasoning there? And my reasoning was always to inspire people that essentially a Black woman in sports could achieve things that were essentially unachievable. And I was able to do that at ESPN. I mean, there are articles about it and all of that good stuff. But so that's why I say, like, just whatever you want to do, really peel back. Okay, like, why do you want to be a lawyer in California in entertainment? Like what is the specific reason? I don't know, is it for pro bono or really helping elevate careers of certain people just really figuring that out in whatever you do. That way, honestly, once you get that, like, any career could essentially fit that, and any path could essentially fit that. And then you just become more flexible and let go of control and just let your life go the way that it's supposed to go.
I really do. I love the way that you walk us through that, which is really, really good. I think that a lot of people are, they hear the noise of of outsiders, and they're just so lost in the noise that they can't make their own decision in regards of like, what are my needs? What do I like? What do I care about? Because it's too easy to say like, but you're working at ESPN, why would you leave? And I'm like, not my place. It's like not where I want to be anymore. And so people see the glitz, but they don't understand the internals of what's happening inside, but also what your needs are, what you want to do in regards to what you want to offer to the universe, which I love that. So thank you very much for explaining that out.
Yes, of course.
I mean, I love data. I'm a horrific numbers person, but I'm a storyteller, and data is story. Vice versa. Like I go, and so mind you, I'm saying this right now. When we're done, once this interview is done, don't hang up, because I literally want to ask you something data related. So I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, but I didn't want to forget. You're at ESPN, you leave ESPN, you have a passion for more. When and why does the business start? Like, what happened that all of a sudden you're like, I go, this is, and was there something in between, but how did this business come to be?
Yeah, there was something in between. I could never quit a comfy corporate job that I've been working for since my senior year in high school on a whim if something wasn't lined up.
Especially because like everything that you've said to me thus far was like, you are all about order. There's order in your life.
Yeah, and now it's chaos.
The world of an entrepreneur is chaos by definition.
So I wasn't happy at ESPN at one point. So I got to ESPN. My first day, I was assigned a project. I worked on that project for 3 months. It got over 1 million views in a day when it was launched. The president of ESPN, John Skipper, who reported into Bob Iger, which was the CEO of Disney, literally said my name, was just like, these are the type of things we need to be doing in this company. And then I just like catapulted at ESPN. I'm literally 21 years old.
It's insane.
And this is all happening within 3 months of me, kind of my first big girl job. And it was just like amazing. And I was on a team with 8 guys, and we all were data scientists, and we build these metrics to kind of predict the outcomes of sports games. Or what I was working on specifically was the fan happiness index, which quantified the emotions of college football fans. And so it just became this huge thing within the company that we were kind of getting a sponsorship on from like Coca-Cola and different sponsors potentially, and just kind of having it be a normal thing throughout programming. What happened was producers, and I was kind of going this trajectory of being on camera, ironically, because I started not wanting to be on camera because people were pushing me in that direction, but it was in a way that I appreciated because I was going to be seen as the analyst. So I think what upsets me is women in media, specifically sports media, are kind of seen as a prop, and they're not able to kind of move outside of that. And so that's kind of, growing up as a young millennial, I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. So essentially going this trajectory where I would be an analyst and I would be asked questions on camera, just like the men were. That was just so amazing. And that was just like, this is what it is. This is what I was like meant to do, and why I have been like focused all these years from college and taking 21 credits. And so that didn't happen because I was on a team with all 8 guys, and my former manager said no. He essentially gave my metric and my work to another guy on my team. And essentially it was just like, we don't feel comfortable with you representing us on TV. Those were literally the words he said. We feel like so-and-so on the team can better explain your metric on TV. I literally built it. And that day was just like a dream, a nightmare. But it was really hard when that happened, because then my entire perspective of my value and my future trajectory at that company changed. And so even when the president of the company came out and was just like, you're awesome, I want to meet with you, we need to be doing these things at these companies, still my team kind of like didn't have my back. So my manager was eventually fired, and then I quit probably 2 weeks after that, because what I had lined up was another position with a startup, a sports startup. We just raised $250,000. We were essentially Ubertising.
What was the window of the presentation, your boss quitting and you leaving? What was that timeline?
Great question. I think presentation came out 3 months when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Them wanting me to be on TV, that came out probably 6 months after that.
Okay.
And then that event happening at that time, my boss getting fired a couple days after that, and then me quitting 2 weeks after that. So in
less than a year. What a crazy year.
Yeah. I think it actually ended up being a year and 8 months on my LinkedIn as far as like when I quit ESPN. So that, yeah, essentially on par, but it was hard because, I mean, this job was like what I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. I eventually did go on TV before I left. I eventually went on TV.
The way you wanted it, or the way they wanted
the way
it?
that I wanted, the way that
Okay.
I wanted.
Okay.
I was the person that was the analyst. They asked me questions. Every single person was just like, this is amazing. Like you definitely are comfortable here. And I was just like, thank you. But so there was an in-between to your original question.
Yep.
before ESPN to building Curastory today.
Yep.
And the in-between was working with another startup. And I'm happy that it happened that way, because I could not go from ESPN to building my own thing, like 0 to 100. Like there's so many things that you don't know about startup world.
Well, I'm happy that you're going that route, because you went from education, running the ship to your boat. I mean, steering your boat, your ship, whatever thing on water, but you ran it. I'm like, what analogy am I going to use? But you were like really structured, and then you went corporate because the trajectory got you there. And then the startup world, and I try to explain to a lot of people, startup / owning your own business, we live in a whole different world that people just don't get it. And I did it. I was corporate and I went that way too, but I was an entrepreneur. So I got to do my own thing within corporate organizations. Yeah. And so I had a little taste of it. And I'm from my family's from another country. So it's in my DNA. Like, I mean, it's so working like that is just like, I was aware of it. You went and did everything the right way. And then you decided to go to this crazy world that people, unless you're in it, people don't understand it. Friends and family are probably looking at you like, oh, you're so smart. Why don't you get a real job? I don't understand. So how was it for you when you entered that, you walked into that first world? Yeah, they raised a lot of money, but you were walking into this crazy ass world of startup.
No idea.
What was it like what was the first month like for you? And look, your eyes are already like talking for me.
Oh man. Yes, everyone thought I was crazy. But I love my parents because they were just like, my mom literally said, I mean, you're not getting any younger. So if you were to do this, no, she's like, if you were to do this, like now would be the time. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that sounds like a yes. So, and she's like, at the end of the day, I just want you to be happy. Like you're clearly not happy at ESPN and just everything that has happened. So, oh man, I had a co-founder who we were really good friends at ESPN. So she quit ESPN first and then started working on it. And then I came after essentially. And so.
Wait, so you guys were co-founders. It wasn't like you joined in. So explain.
Yeah, no, I was co-founder. We were co-founders. Yeah. So we were essentially Ubertizing the way that recreational sports are played. So I built this algorithm to match players of a skill level. We were specifically focused on tennis first. And then I matched those players of the same skill level to courts nearby. So that's essentially what we were doing. That way, when you get on an app, you can just join a game like near you to play. And so we raised $250,000. It was with her. She had all of the startup chops. So I was under her just learning what to do and definitely what not to do. She's still building the company, but it was like very capital intensive and it's tough. It's just like we had to buy court time in bulk, which is capital intensive, which is essentially real estate. And building a real estate company, if you've never built a startup before, is like very, very, very difficult because you have to raise a ton of capital. It's very different from tech where you just need like $5,000, $10,000 to build the product. And then you can get all these users on and then raise money from there. So that really wasn't the case. And it was the most information that I've gotten over a 6-month period. How to raise from investors, how to create metrics for your company, like KPIs, how to hire the right people, how to talk to users to actually build the right product that they need. You can't just build a product in a silo. You actually have to talk to users every day and hear their problems, walk them through their day and their story, and just really try to figure out signal from noise. And like, okay, I'm hearing this is actually what we need to build in a product. Because if you do that and you don't do it that way, then you're going to build the wrong thing and you're going to waste money. And a lot of people do that. So it was just a 6-month expansive period of just learning startup language. Oh man, I remember the first investor, Black woman, that I was introduced to. Once I kind of stepped away from the tennis startup and really focused on Curastory, which around the time the first story about name, image, and likeness, which is basically student athletes being able to make money, that broke in the spring of 2019. And I was just like, athletes are going to have to be YouTubers. That's literally what, and they're going to have the same problems of YouTubers. So, and they have a lot of problems. How do I figure out kind of a media company for them? So that's essentially where Curastory started. But I remember I was in the city in New York. I met with an investor, Black woman. I was starting to pitch the idea and she's like, okay, stop. She's like, please let me be the last person that you talk to. Because, and I love her for it, because she's like, you don't have a pitch deck. You don't have a pitch. You're not saying the right words. Every single investor, this is a whole game of signaling. Every single investor is going to ignore you if you have this. She's like, I want you to go back. I need you to do these things. I need you to read this book. I need you to put a pitch deck together. And I just need you to do these things before you go back out and like talk to other investors. I am so grateful for her because I don't know. I feel like so many founders are just like, I need to raise. But it's just like, okay, wait, actually take a moment. Do you have a product? Do you actually have a reasonable idea?
Yep.
Have you talked to users? Can you put a pitch deck together? It's like so many things that have to occur before you even go out to get a check, before an investor is going to look at you as like, okay, you are emotionally sound and I understand this idea. Here, take my money. Like there's a lot that has to happen before that occurs. So
it's funny that you say that. So I mentor businesses all the time globally. And it is shocking to me that in the world of technology, people just don't Google, what do I need to do before I see an investor? Shocking. So when they come to me and I'm like, so you had a pain point and you create a solution, but the pain point was because you saw something or you're experiencing something. So why are we not talking to people that are experiencing the same problem you had or you saw it? I'm mind blown every single time I have a business come my way, and I'm like, for the love of God, literally, what is this? Or my favorite is when they do have a pitch deck, and it basically is the business plan of the yesteryears, and it's 30 pages. I'm like, I'm not looking at that because it's not 10 slides. It's not 10 slides. I'll give you even 15 slides. But I mean, literally, it's the hello, goodbye, and then everything in between. But if you can't say it in 10, don't say it at all.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly blown away. And I'm telling you, when I meet with, I mean, whether it's the podcast or just the business, I, on average per week, at least 30 to 40 decks that I look at. And every single time I'm like, why are we still having this problem with the internet? Like, Google exists for a reason. What the hell? So just as a mentor, I had to put that out there. Drives me nuts.
No, I know. Do you know what's funny? I don't know if you know DocSend, that was acquired by Dropbox, DocSend.
Mhm.
And it tracks your pitch decks, who's looking at them, emails, all that good stuff. Data actually came out that the pitch decks of the companies that raise the most money, they typically have between like 20 to 25 slides. And I feel like, and it's funny when people tell me like, keep it in 10, I'm just like, no. There's so much to this business. Like, if you want to ignore the numbers and how we've like won, fine, that's completely up to you. But it's funny that is the actual data, because it's just like, I feel like these are things that investors do on purpose to like, because they get so much deal flow, right? They're just like, what can I do to just put a barrier and to just stop? It's like, oh, it's not 10 slides, I'm not looking at it, right? So then it's just like, what are things investors can do to stop the amount of deal flow and to like really concentrate on these few number of businesses to actually invest in? I mean, there are thousands and thousands of people a day are hitting them up for investment. And so I feel like the 10 slide deck rule is one of those things, and especially with that data. But then also, I feel like you have to have a network. Like, they're gonna look at your 20 to 25 slide deck if it comes from somebody they already invested in, or another investor that has already invested and the deal is hot. Like, they're not gonna.
Well, no, I'm gonna be very, no, I'm gonna even push the envelope on this one. I'm gonna look at it if it's good, because if you don't get me, it's like when I buy a book. I mean, I'll use the book where Steve Jobs, when he was dying, Steve Jobs' book came out, and I will say I am not a fan. Yes, I have an iPhone, but I am not a fan of Steve Jobs, because the human being was not a kind person. But more so, I'm like, you know what? I bought the book. I'm like full on. I bought the book, and I'm an audiobook person. I'm dyslexic, so like freaking, I'm all about the audio. But I bought the book. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna focus. The first 10 pages were so horrible for me that I'm like, and because he was a bad person, that I'm like, I don't even care what else is in the book. It's gone. So when I'm looking at a deck, you could be 10, you could be 5, you could be 2, you could be a 1 sheet. I don't care. If it is bad and you have not spoken to your target audience, and if you don't know what you're solving, it really doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And
Very
I don't
true.
care if my best friend that literally saved me off of a railroad track, that literally gave up her kidney, said, Jodi, I need you to read this. If it's bad, I'm chucking it.
No, I agree. So I learned a lot within a span of 6 months, and then started building Curastory, and now we are a 15-person team. We are chucking. We're doing a 2.4 million run rate. We are going out for Series A in the next couple of months.
So let's talk about what it is. Like, I mean, who's the perfect client? How does it work? What is the future of this? And to end that, so this is like a nice big chunk of questions. What is it? Who's it for? What is its future? And most importantly, what happened during the pandemic for you guys?
Yeah. So we are a creator economy tools company, and I will explain what that means. specifically for video content creators. You can create in many different ways. Like Etsy is a creator economy company because you can create things, you can sew and then sell on Etsy. So it's the utility behind what you're creating as a creator. That is what creator economy means, and that is what a creator tools company means. So we are the utility behind putting a video up on YouTube and putting a video on TikTok and actually getting monetized and essentially getting paid for that content. That's essentially what Curastory is enabling underneath. A few things. The creator economy stack right now, all the tools that you need to record a quality video, to edit it, to distribute it, to get it live, and to monetize it is $14,000 a month right now, period. Like, which is insane because, and that is the life cycle of a piece of content. If you were to use all of these tools that exist, you would have to pay $14,000 a month just to create a video to like essentially get it live and make money from it. The way that most YouTubers are actually doing it today that make a ton of money. That is crazy. Our platform is free. And so that's kind of what we're enabling. The Who, we're first focused on sports and fitness creators, staying close to my ESPN sports world. Student athletes, 450,000 student athletes can now make money from social media. They have no idea what to do. And so how our platform essentially works is creators create videos, a day in the life. This is what I eat in a day. This is me as a college athlete, whatever it is. They upload it to our platform. We have free editing, we have free music, because if you put a Drake song on your video, it will get taken down, and that, which a lot of people don't know. And then we help them monetize because YouTube, 70% of people skip ads on YouTube. When someone skips an ad, YouTube does not pay you. YouTube keeps the money for themselves. They put the skip ad in 5 seconds there on purpose so they don't have to pay you out as a creator. Imagine you did your own advertisement like a podcast and YouTube didn't do the ad. You would make so much more money. The skip rate for podcasts and for our videos are 5 to 7%, which means when people are listening to the advertisement, you're making money. So we allow for that to happen as well. Our creators every day are getting essentially advertisements from brands, like they can accept or decline. They do the ads in their own voice. So you're watching a YouTube video, they're working out, they start talking about boxed water, and then they get back to working out. And then we only take a small 30% cut from that and give the rest to the creator. So that's how we make money. Like everything is free in the beginning for you to create it. And then on the back end, we just take all of our cuts and fees. And that's below industry standard. YouTube charges 45% and they're not even doing anything. So that's the what and the who. The future, I hate how the creator stack is $14,000 a month. Like it just blows my mind. The barrier is so high that if you just want to create a quality piece of video and actually make money from it, and you're funny and you have a story to put out there on the internet and tell, it just, normal people that cannot afford that are just not able to do it. And so I think it's horrible. And I think creator economy tools companies, it should be all in one and it should be all encompassing. So today we meet creators at the editing stage, but there's 5, 6, 7 steps before that. You have to brainstorm your content. You have to record it. Like there are so many things ahead of just editing the piece of content that we have to help video creators to be able to do. So that's essentially the future of Curastory, an all-in-one platform for video creators.
So I do love that whole entire one-stop shopping kind of model, because I mean, obviously, I mean, I can go to the mall, I can go to strip mall. I mean, like, I just want to get all my stuff done. When I go and do any of my errands, there's a pattern of where I'm going, but I'm not into the going here, 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 here. Let's just like nice, smooth way. That price point is extremely high, and yet during the pandemic, you saw kids doing it all the time. How can you justify to someone saying that there's this massive price point, but you see kids doing it every single day? You see adults doing it, you see startups doing it, you see a lot of people doing it. How are they able to do it? I mean, even with my podcast, I mean, everyone's like, how are you doing now? I go, I work in the media. I worked in the media for 10 years, and I worked in the media when there was no technology. I had no choice or I'd lose my job, and our shows were highly rated. So how can you justify that price point of what big corporate organizations are doing, but normal people they're turning it? Is it gorgeous? Some of it is really damn good.
Yeah, no, exactly. So a lot of them are doing it for free on their phone. But what's so tough is I don't want to say there's a ceiling for that, but it's like the creator stack that I'm talking about is essentially like links in bio, or like music licensing, or education around it, or like back office or invoicing, just the business around creating a business from your video content.
Yeah.
That is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about stack. You could easily post on TikTok and YouTube and all these platforms completely for free, and like do the thing and do that thing for a long time, but actually crafting a business around that to be streamlined, like a media company, like ESPN is an 8,000 person company. To be able to do that takes money currently. As
100% agree with you in that aspect. 100%.
Yeah. And so I think it's stupid. And I think that needs to be taken away. And I think to build a business around your content and to actually live off of it, and this be what you put out in the world and you actually make a good living from it, the barrier should not be $14,000 like a month to be able to do that. And so that is kind of the issue that we're solving in the industry at large. And we're just starting with sports and fitness creators. We'll have about 30,000 creators by August. We're going on a roadshow for the NCAA, educating student athletes and students. If you want to do the TikTok, YouTube thing, this is how you do it, and this is how you make money from it. And the pandemic.
Wait, pause for a second.
Yeah.
When the NILs came out, I love that story. I love the story so much because, again, working with small businesses, working with entrepreneurs, I worked in the media for 10 years. Even when I was in the governor's office, watching these athletes, especially because I'm in Massachusetts, where we have over 215 universities, colleges, and trade schools. We're the mecca of schools. And the athletes they're everywhere. I mean, you could tell when the students are here, and you can tell when the students are not here in this state. It's not that big, but there's so much intenseness to it. And it broke my heart whenever I saw another school get another field, another this, another that. And you're like making money off of these kids year after year after year. And then for them to have the audacity, when it was finally the moment that the kids can get that money, they're like, well, we're not going to protect them. I'm like, they're kids. They're still kids. And you're willing to sit there and throw them underneath a car because you're not getting paid. I was like, this is so not okay. So what did it do for you guys when all of a sudden you have all this content coming in from these kids that need your protection, they need the help? And it was just like a moment of truth.
Yeah. I mean, the NCAA is a business at the end of the day. And what's interesting is universities are looking at it as a recruiting tactic now. They have to. The power is now switching to individuals and consumers and creators now instead of organizations. And it's one of those things where if you were just outwardly not protecting them or outwardly not helping them in NIL or steering them in the right direction, because of course the stipulations, the university can't be making the deals. The NCAA just doesn't want to be in the middle where they have to pay a student athlete out millions of dollars just to kind of remove themselves, which I completely understand. And I think it should be that way. But if you can only steer athletes in the right direction, you better be the #1 school at steering and figuring out how to help student athletes make money in social media in this period of time that they have. And so that is why one of the main reasons why we're going on this roadshow. And a lot of universities have like changed their tune a little bit. Like they're realizing okay, we definitely, because at the end of the day, you're an athlete. Who do you trust the most? Whoever you see the most, which is your coach or the athletic staff. You're literally with them every day, or your teammates. So as you're trying to figure out NIL and making money on social media, those are the people that you're going to go to. And just making sure you're okay, you won't lose your eligibility, like things like that. So that's the main reason why we're doing this roadshow, and just educating at the end of the day. Like, how do you create videos? How do you not put music on it to where your video is going to get taken down? Like, what are the little things that you can do and create content in your busy schedule? Because these are not normal people. They have crazy schedules, and they still have school on top of that. So just making it more realistic for them. And then student and universities are opening the doors for us. They're super excited because they haven't had any classes or sessions, not classes, but sessions on really social media that the student athletes would listen to and actually understand. I get the professional social media marketing person coming in, but like,
I was going to say that I feel like I go to school.
Realistic.
Well, I feel like the schools are like, I go calling on the marketing teams, and they're like, I go, okay, let's just like get, so that way we're all winning here. So like the marketing team comes in, but you're right. I mean, a student's not going to really listen to a marketing team that's marketing the school, that you've been the same person doing it for quite some time and you're comfortable in your spot. And now how are you going to sit there and talk to the academics? I mean, like the students, I should say, not the academics of it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they're not, it needs to be someone in the world that is connected, and our investors have invested in Cameo and Snapchat, and so we are in this world, and we understand how to create TikToks and how to do the thing, and that is who needs to come in and kind of like teach them and educate them on how do you actually build a media business around your videos. That is kind of what we're coming in and doing. So really excited for it, and yeah, my life has gone down a winding path, but I've never been happier. I'm so stressed, but I would wake up and make the same decision all over again. I've let go of control over my life. I know that we are going to succeed. I have no doubt in my mind, because we're waking up every day trying to solve users' problems, and we're actually listening to them, and we're doing it in the right way. It's rewarding, and it's the most looking in the mirror assessment I've ever done in my entire life. I actually pity anyone that either doesn't start a company or manage a large group of people, because you have to remove your personal feelings, you have to remove your bias, you have to, it's so hard, it's so difficult, but it's the most rewarding. You're better for it, you become a better person at the end of the day. And I love it. I've learned a lot.
March 20, so we'll go back to the question of March 2020. You have a business, you have 15 team members. We are during the buzz of a pandemic. We are in a pandemic. We are living through a 2-year enjoyment of the pandemic pause, for better, for worse. What did that do for you personally? What did that do for your team? What did it do for the company?
Yes, we grew during that time period because everyone was posting on social media. We literally raised $2.3 million during COVID. And we grew our business because of the data and the statistics, and being able to show investors how much more frequently people are actually posting on social media. And people that were kind of hesitant about starting a video business or starting a content business, them actually jumping in and doing it full scale, because what else are you going to do during the pandemic? Or at least kind of doing a side hustle, a side gig, and just being more creative, because people were kind of in funks and things like that. So we grew during the pandemic, and it was the best thing for the company. And we're a bigger team now, and that trend is here to stay. I mean, we're still going to be remote in this kind of hybrid environment, and creators continuously still posting, even more so on social media. So it was a good thing for our business.
how are you able to balance that? I mean, like, again, you're watching the world, you're growing, you're busy, you're very focused. But I mean, how are you able to balance? We're still in a pandemic. The company tends to be, especially for entrepreneurs, we can take our work and that becomes our distraction from the real world. But there was a real world happening, and it wasn't just like locally, it was global. Your family's still in the South, I'm assuming. You're in the North. How was that in regards of making sure that family and friends were okay?
It was hard.
And by the way, you're in New York. It was like, New York, it was New York, the
worst.
epicenter. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard an ambulance every night, multiple times. Like, I think a morgue was like, a makeshift morgue was created like a few blocks. It was pretty nuts. The company definitely was a distraction. It was not the easiest time of my life. It was like so many positive things happening with the company where we raised $2.3 million. But during that, my personal life essentially like crumbling a little bit. My mom passed away in August of last year, not because of COVID. I know, not because of COVID, but it was tough. It was like I was raising as that was happening. And so, but like, I knew it was her and we had to keep going because I think $1 million in deal flow came probably the day after her service. So
our angels take care of us.
Yes, they do. It was not easy. And I think, especially when you're a founder and an entrepreneur, I think personal issues kind of just hit harder than if you were in corporate with personal issues. It's just like you're trying to get something on its legs and built and sturdy and not needing you 24/7.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do. But then it's like
life happens.
Anything that happens personally just like is a blow to everything else. So it was definitely tough. I had some awesome people around me. My team was amazing as that was happening. And the company was growing too in the midst of all that. So it was tough. It was hard, but I feel like, COVID, being trapped inside was one of the reasons. I feel like, I mean, she had cancer. And so I feel like, COVID's tough. It's tough. It was tough. It's still tough. So
just so you know, it's
hard.
I would say like, it's tough no matter when things happen. I mean, my dad died so I've had my company for 13 years. My dad died of cancer at year 5, just when we started going uptick. Just when we started, and literally he watched me struggle while he was sick. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want him to worry while he's sick. And just when it was starting going, and I'm like, what a kick in the face that is, man, come on.
But I also think it's like, if it wasn't at that time, I don't think I would be able to handle it. Like, having that positively happen in the company, and my mom also seeing me struggle for 3 years after quitting ESPN, and her helping me whenever she could. It's like once things started going good, it's like then she started really deteriorating. And even when I'm telling her, like as she's passing away, I'm just like, hey, like, it's okay. Like you can, like, I'm okay. You can. Oh, I was so emotional. I'm like, you can go. Like you don't have to keep holding on. So yeah, it was difficult, but I feel like if it would have happened at any other time, like I would definitely have not been okay.
Oh, I love that. I love it because I always say the universe takes good care of us. I mean, the universe has our back. And when we have our phenomenal angels, I mean, boy, oh boy, I mean, it's so weird, but it is so amazing. Well, I don't care what people believe, but I go, when you have your special angels and things start happening, you're like, someone is going directly to not St. Peter, excuse me, hi, St. Peter. Can I have a direct meeting with God? Because I know God is taking care of everyone, but I need to talk to you about Jodi. I need to talk to you about Tiffany because I'm their advocate. I am their advocate right here. Just, I know you're taking care of so much, but here's the person. So I love that so much. What would you say to someone that is looking to start their own business? You have gone from badass, amazing, structured individual in college with like, I know where I'm going, to getting the dream job, to hell no, this is not for me, to now I have a first business and like, what did they not teach me in college? To now I have a badass company that is making my dreams come true. Now the person is listening to you and thinking, that was a lot of stuff she went through. Oh, but she's young, What would you say to someone that is young, someone that's mid-age, someone that's older, that's like, I'm now retiring and this is not my last act. What would you say to the person that is thinking about starting something?
Yeah, I have a hard stop at 1, but I will say that I did something called Startup School, which is put on by Y Combinator, which is very well known. They founded Airbnb, Dropbox, all that good stuff. Well, not founded, they invested in, the first investors. But I will say Startup School helped me so much because it really, and like, kind of told me that I need to talk to users constantly. Like, it really gave me the foundation of how do you build a business? Like, how do you actually build a business that works? And paying attention to your KPIs, not ignoring them. You either pay attention to revenue or users. Like, that is the only thing. Don't pay attention to all these other random things. And being able to talk to users to really figure out what you should be building. If you have an idea for a company, that is the first thing that I would do. I would enroll in Startup School. It's free, and take all of their classes. I would also read the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. It's on my bookshelf. Who was first investor in Facebook, talks about how do you actually build a business and growing it vertically and not just repeating what has been already done, which is growing it horizontally. So actually really going from 0 to 1, because that's how you build a $1 billion company. So those are 2 things that I would do. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have an idea, you need to figure out if this idea has legs or makes sense before you kind of invest all your savings or quit your day job. Or you've already quit your day job, I would get on that ASAP and kind of work through and read kind of those 2 things and then enroll in those Startup School classes.
All right, you have a hard stop, but I have my last question for you, and I'm definitely going to call you. I'm going to schedule a time with you because I want to ask a question. All right, so the way that I end, and this is not the last time we'll ever talk, so just let you be known, you're amazing. I'm so happy I found you. If you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you right now, this is how we end every interview. Personal ask and a professional ask. What would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask? Please, 2 answers, Madame Tiffany.
Professional, I would say if you want to start a video business, you totally can. Stop ignoring it. If you have it in the back of your mind, you can actually create honestly, you can actually create a life for yourself and wealth for yourself doing and putting out stories and content and your videos. Don't run away from it. So if that's what you want to do, Curastory.co is your company to kind of help you do that. So that's professional. And then personal, I would say, kind of going back to our original conversation, like, have a passion and not a job in mind. Like, allow yourself flexibility in your career, because you will be so much happier and better off for it. And I still give myself that advice every day. So if I see one thing going one way, it's like, okay, what's the actual goal here? Like, what's the underlying passion, goal, and thing that I'm trying to accomplish to kind of steer you in the right direction, essentially. So
you just said,
I would say those 2 things.
I thank you for both of them. But quick thing, you just said in the whole entire conversation, you said sports, but then in the pitch professionally, you said if you're ready for video. So are you guys doing any business now, or just to get clarification for anyone that's listening?
Yes, we are launching to all video creators before end of year. So we're still specific to sports and fitness right now, but culinary, interior design, like all of the beauty, all the creative verticals are coming end of year. So just sign up and we will start servicing you super soon.
Beautiful. All right, I'm letting you go because you got to go. Tiffany, thank you so very much for taking time out of your day. This was beautiful. This was so beautiful. You have an amazing story, my friend. You have a really, really great story. And this is why I want to give you guys a ton to talk and not just hear about the business, but to hear about you. So thank you. I get it now. I get why you're doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jodi. We'll chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.